stuffed dog that came to life, and a man's voice in my bedroom. This is something that I experienced at and below the age of 6. It's something that I still think about now as a 37-year-old and have some vivid memories of. In the first house I lived in, I shared a room with my older brother. It was a small house with tiny rooms, so we slept in bunk beds with me on the bottom. My parents are somewhere on the hoarder spectrum, and as such there was a lot of stuff packed into our small room. One item in particular was a stuffed Afghan dog that my mum had made. At the time, it felt like it was huge, and it had a very distinct, pointy face with plastic eyes glued on. It was stuffed with old tights and made a distinct noise when you moved it. My mum called it Arabella Afghan, and she stayed at the bottom of my bed with some other toys. To add a bit more context, I was born in 1987. My maternal grandfather died in 1985, and as such never met any of his grandchildren. I remember my mum speaking about him a lot as a kid, saying how old he would have been when his birthday came around, and generally telling us about him. I know that she missed him a lot, and said to me one day that she regretted not telling him she loved him before he died. Now, I'm not suggesting that this definitely happened, as I know that the imagination of a child can be very active. However, the events listed below at least felt real to young me. Arabella would come to life in the night. I would hear the distinct noise of her moving and bury my head under my pillow so that I wouldn't see her, or she wouldn't see me, and wait until the noise stopped. One night in particular, I woke up and felt like I just wanted to be with my parents, so I got out of bed, made myself as small as possible with my eyes shut, and waited for the noise to stop so that I could run to my parents' room. On this occasion, a man's voice said, "You're a good boy." Then the noise stopped and I ran. Another night, I heard the noise and looked over the end of my bed. Arabella was looking directly at me, which terrified me, so I immediately hid under my covers. I can still picture exactly how it looked in my mind's eye, her plastic eyes locked with mine. On one very distinct occasion, I remember playing in my room by myself and a man's voice saying something like, "Don't worry," or "You're okay," although there was no one there. My dad was in the Air Force and spent a lot of time away when I was very young. During this time, I'm fairly sure he was in the Falklands, and there was no other man in the house. I also remember saying to my mum one day, "Sometimes I hear God talking to me," which must have been where my young brain went to make sense of it all. Anyway, it's not something I talk about to people, but it felt like this was somewhere I could talk about it from a neutral standpoint. I do like to think that it was connected to my grandfather in some way, not least because it would have come from a place of love for my brothers and mother, especially seeing as I never got to